Hey, welcome to Our Defining Moments. I'm your host, Mary McClements. In this podcast, I talk with people about the split-second moments in their lives that sent them in directions that they never expected. From the woods of Vermont to the streets of San Francisco to the Camino de Santiago in Spain, you may be astonished by the chain reactions these moments have had not only for my guests, but for those around them. Have you ever felt as though you think differently than most others? Perhaps you think in a nonlinear way, thinking more along unconventional, atypical lines in a non-sequential manner. Perhaps your path to a solution is a windy one, and it's hard for you to even describe it to somebody, how you got from point A to point B. If you think this about yourself, you may be a multipotentialite. Multipotentiality, say that quick 3 times. Multipotentiality is a psychological and educational term used to describe people who display aptitude across multiple disciplines. And it's not always an appreciated or accepted or even known as a way of thinking. But there is one man who has started a movement, the Octopus Movement to be exact, who is the driving force behind the acceptance and awareness of the often amazing abilities of atypical thinkers, and who wants to embed our diverse experience, expertise, and polymathic skills around the world. Welcome, Perry Knoppert, to Our Defining Moments.
Yay. Thank you, Mary. And it sounds wonderful. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, yeah, I really did that, didn't I?
Yeah,
wow.
Like
it's
these
incredible.
words sound familiar. Exactly. Busted.
I know these words. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's me. Yeah.
Well, it's super helpful because multipotentiality, I totally relate with, but describing it, I needed to steal your information. So thank you very much. Yes.
And it's very easy to describe. It's just nonlinear thinking, which is a more difficult way to say multipotentiality. Multipotentiality. Oh, it's a tongue twister. I've practiced for a very long time. I can tell you that. Yeah.
You say it a lot, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny. You're the second person I've interviewed for Our Defining Moments that's from the Netherlands.
Seriously?
Yeah.
But these Dutch weird people are everywhere. I
feel like the Dutch are pretty aware, pretty self-aware. So you have a pretty diverse professional background, not surprising. But before we hear about that, I would love it if you could fill us in on why you called this movement the Octopus Movement. Why did you name it that?
Where is the octopus coming from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's because I don't like the word multipotentiality.
Octopus is easier to say.
There's something difficult for me with the word multipotentiality. It's not to pronounce it, but the way people use the word multipotentialite and put it in a box again. And when you really look into multipotentiality, for me, it's so not being in a box.
Yeah.
So I was asking a group of people, we were doing a clubhouse thing a year and a half ago. And I said, I find it difficult. Then you have the multipotentialites, you have the polymaths, you have the scanners in Germany, the zebras in France, and the jack of all trades. And these people are thinking outside of the box. They make fast connections. They're curious misfits. And what do?
I like that.
We label them. Yeah. And it feels wrong to me. And then you have Emily Wapnick, who created the word multipotentialite. Well done, Emily.
Yeah.
And she was inspired by Barbara Sher and Refused to Choose. Wonderful book. Everybody should read it because that's the first lady who said, don't finish your projects, just explore and go for it, which was a real pleasure to read that book because especially when you're a multipotentialite, people are always saying, you need to focus, you need to finish. So that book is wonderful and that triggered Emily to create that. But then when you want to go to Emily's tribe, it's locked, it's sealed, it's delivered, it's boxed. And I thought, how weird. I wanted this to be boxed.
Yeah. It's like, if I can use an analogy because I love analogies, it's like learning about the ecology of a stream from a book. It's like, why not just go to the stream and do your research there? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Right? Mm-hmm. And this triggered for me that I thought, how linear again? And because our system is linear, the education is linear, the government is linear. And then we create a beautiful word, and I love language, multipotentiality. and we address that in a linear way. Fuck, I'm not doing that. People help me. I asked a group of people that consider themselves multipotentialite, and I said, help me. What is the symbol of a curious misfit? Because that's what we all have in common. If you find yourself a multipotentialite or not. So multipotentialites, polymaths, scanners, people with neurodiversity, I will come to that later. All of these people that are different, what they have in common is that they're all very curious. They're all curious misfits in a way of, well, because they're wired differently. And then Christine in London from the company What Does Not said to me, Perry,
What Does Not? Okay.
What Does Not is a company also for multipotentialites. So she knows everything about multipotentialites. She's very nonlinear herself. She's fantastic. And she said to me, Perry, I always use an octopus or a squid as an emoji to send to someone when I had a nice conversation with that person. And I thought, well, squid, the emoji of a squid looks better than the emoji of an octopus. Go check it out. It's really true. But I don't like the word squid.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the word scanner. And then I saw octopus and I thought, fascinating. And then Haley, who's very active in the Octopus Movement now, Haley said, Perry, have you seen My Octopus Teacher? And it's a documentary about a filmmaker who gets into a friendship with a real octopus. And I watched that documentary the same evening. And the next day I sent Christine and Haley a message. You inspired me so much. Can I use the symbol of an octopus thanks to you? Because now it's time for me to create the Octopus Movement, to create some change here.
Right. Awesome. And so I want to hear, before you share your really defining moment, kind of dig into that. So octopus, I mean, right, they're beautiful, they're smart. What else? Like, why does that work with multipotentialite?
They have 3 hearts. And when you look at, let's call them nonlinear thinkers, when you look at people that are wired a little bit differently and do things in a different way, maybe multipotentialites, maybe creative people, they tend to be very sensitive as well. And for me, it was so beautiful to hear about the 3 hearts of the octopus. For me, that was immediately the relationship towards high sensitivity and emotion and feeling. I think the nonlinear thinkers do care about a greater good. They're not only there to make money and be successful and drive a Mercedes-Benz. With all respect to Mercedes-Benz, I love that brand, but that's always my example. It's the Mercedes-Benz. These people are more sensitive. They also realize their nature. I think some people are forgetting the fact that we are nature as well. Nature is not the forest where you drive into, park your car and go for a walk. That's not nature. Nature's here. That's us. And for me, it feels like we're forgetting that. So the 3 hearts of the octopus relates to that, in my opinion. Then an octopus has 9 brains. Well, we're wired a little bit differently. If I look at the Octopus Movement, so many highly gifted people there. Oh my God. So many people that just love to learn, love to explore, and are very good in combining lots of things together. They learn very fast. And what they also have in common is most of them, when they think back at school, but also when they're talking with other people, they have a feeling like after 2 sentences, they already know what the other is going to say. That could be high sensitivity, but that's also a very fast brain that is very active and connecting as well. For me,
the connecting.
For me, for the human brain, for me, it's not here. It's here as well. My gut is my brain as well. And look at the octopus, its arms, there's brain in its arms, in its head, it's brain everywhere. And for me, it feels the same. What do we do when we're not well, when we're stressed, when we're going towards a burnout? We can feel it in our body. That's our brain as well. So the 9 brains of the octopus goes further than just smart and fast thinking and good learning. And then you have the 8 arms. Well, right? The 8 arm says it all. We do so many things. We can do so many different projects, and it's beautiful how that works. I'm a solo parent with 3 kids. I run a global movement, and I'm an artist as well. I do all these things. I'm enjoying them. And I'm always saying, I'm so happy I have 8 arms. Maybe my 8 arms are also related to my ADHD. I don't know. Yep. But a lot of people in the movement reflect to the 8 arms as well. I'm doing so many things. So that's the 8 arms. And then finally, that's the blue blood or the alien DNA of the octopus. That's how we feel from time to time, right? We feel a little bit of an alien. Like, I don't know if everybody really understands me.
Yeah.
And we feel different.
Yeah.
Not saying better, but different. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us also are thinking, if we would have the opportunity, if people would really see us, we could do so much more, right? Mm-hmm. That's the octopus. That's the different DNA, the blue blood. And then finally, put an octopus in a box and it escapes. You know, it can transform into different shapes, different colors. And don't we feel like that as well, right? Yeah. We also adjust so easily. I was an expat with an expat family. First country we went to was China. You need to adjust when you go as a Dutch, blue eyes, blonde hair, silly person, and you go in the center of Beijing. You need to adjust. You need to adapt. And we're very good at that. Yeah. And I saw people that are very linear who are not capable in adjusting. They're not octopuses. They are, you know, with their huge ego, this is how it works for me. And you Chinese need to learn from me because this is how it works.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Very culturally. Yeah.
Right. And all these experiences for me are a great example in why the octopus is our symbol of nonlinear thinking and unique brains, unique minds, basically.
Yeah, it's so good. And I think you've heard this a lot, but when I don't even know how I found the Octopus Movement, but when I found you, I was like, oh my God, here's more people for my clan, you know? And I think our society, right, it's like our industrialized society has created the best way to think is linear, you know, for so long. And those folks who don't think linearly, right, are left out because the expectation is to be this way and we're all these other different ways. So I love that you and the other people you mentioned, the person who wrote the book, refuse to choose, you know, and like, you don't have to finish everything, right? I mean, where was everybody in the 1970s and 80s when I was a kid and like desperately needed some validation and this is it refers to so many people, like so many people are not validated growing up because they don't think in this linear way. So thank you. I'll just go right there and say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So I want to diverge from my normal interview process, which is generally introducing the person. Then I get a lot of background and then I kind of build up to the defining moment to, you know, give away all my secrets and then how it has affected others. But because we're talking about divergent thinking, I'd rather go about this non-sequentially and hear about your defining moments first, and then we'll see what comes of it. How's that sound?
Sounds very good.
Okay.
I love that. Let's do it in a different way. Let's just flow.
Yeah.
Right?
And I wish we could do it like an interpretive dance or something instead of, but you know, there we go. This is our platform. This works. So what is a defining moment that you want to talk about?
I don't remember the day.
Okay.
But I was standing in the living room of my girlfriend. I lost everything in life, really. I was homeless. Couldn't see my 3 kids. I lost everything that I collected, my furniture, my books, everything. Someone took it all away because he thought he deserved to have it for some reason. And I was standing in the middle of her living room. I think it was a Friday. It feels like a Friday. I don't know if it was a Friday. And the sun was shining and I was standing there and I looked outside and I said to her, it's very clear to me now. I get it. It's so clear. And then she said, what is clear? Perry, tell me more. What is clear? What do you mean? You know what I said? I have no idea. I have no idea. It's crystal clear to me, but what is crystal clear is not clear to me. And that sounds very strange.
No, I get it.
But it's always when you look back in retrospective that you can say something like this.
Right. You can put the words to it or.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I see things very clearly. But back then it all started. And it started with the thinking about, I'm a nonlinear thinker. I'm okay. I have neurodiversity. My brain is wired differently than standard. I'm okay. The outside world is very linear, and that's why it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. That's why the expectations are wrong. My own expectations were wrong. People were having wrong expectations of me because I was behaving in the wrong way, because I was lying to myself,
right,
because I was creating the wrong expectations.
And beating yourself up? Were you beating yourself up?
Beating myself up.
Yeah.
Why am I not successful? Why am I not doing this? Why is this happening? Everything went wrong, but I mean so well. Why is it going wrong? Right?
Yeah.
People were angry with me. Why? I'm a good person. Why do people get upset with me? That's weird. And then I thought, it's that linear world, and I don't fit in there. I don't fit into the linear world because I'm not like that. I'm wired differently. I see other things. Other things are important for me than standard. And the linear world is education. You go to school, you're born very nonlinear. We can all draw beautifully when we're very young, right? And we can make the most beautiful things. And then we can go to school and they mess up everything, basically.
That's a great way to put it.
Of course, we need to go for that diploma in order to get the job. And I'm very happy that the neurologist did his diploma and was helping me in the correct way. I had a brain infection 10 years ago that changed my life as well. And I'm very happy people in the hospital have studied and are following linear directions.
Yeah.
Although I still think sometimes a little bit too linear. You can also trust your gut feeling from time to time as a doctor, maybe even. But that's what made it crystal clear to me. And I thought, but I don't have to fight the system.
That was the moment where you're like, it's all clear to me. What's clear? I don't know. I don't have to fight this, or I don't.
Yeah. And I have people around me that are very linear as well. Mm-hmm. They don't mean this personally. I took everything always so personal in my life. Fucking hell. I'm so happy I'm not doing that anymore. But it was always personal. Why? Because I wasn't in balance with myself. So if you're struggling with yourself and someone says something to you, you take it very personally because you're not okay to start with.
Right. I think if I can add, I think there's a lot of shame, right? Because I don't fit in and there's something wrong with me. And when there's shame, there's often defensiveness.
Well, I don't know if it was shame. I was disappointed because I sometimes explain when I give lectures about this nonlinear thinking, I sometimes explain that we think our life is like a jigsaw puzzle. It's a picture and you need all the pieces to complete the picture, and then it's a beautiful picture. And maybe you can buy some extra pieces so it goes faster, but you need all the pieces and then the picture is complete. And I created that picture in my mind as well. I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. We're all very happy, beautiful house in the forest. We would go on holiday. I would go to Paris every other weekend. I would drink the best wine. I would enjoy my dog. I'm very healthy. My parents are smiling. That's the jigsaw puzzle, which is completely, utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. It works for some people. But
no, it doesn't. No, come on, Mary.
You don't think it?
No, it's not true. No, of course not.
Interesting. That's so interesting because I feel like a linear lifestyle, I'm a career and trauma coach, and I work with a lot of people who feel best when they're thinking, they're planning, and this is going to happen. Right. And if something happens, maybe they don't function as well. But I feel like most people I know work pretty well in a linear.
Of course, because that gives them stability. This is how they're trained. And trust me, I have to make this very clear.
Yeah.
I love linear people. I love linear thinking. I use linear thinking myself. Otherwise, you cannot organize a global movement
Yes,
within
true.
1.5 years with 2,000 members in 58 countries. Sorry, I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
That it doesn't happen if you don't use linear systems.
Yeah.
But it's like the North and the South Pole. We need them both, right? It's not only non-linear thinking, but it's also not only linear thinking, because I've seen so many very linear people that are so focused on following these rules in life, the unwritten rules, the line where it needs to go. And some of them are just very unpleasant. They say they feel happy, but why are they, if they're so happy, why are they making it impossible for other people sometimes? Why are they in a company that destroys the planet? Why are they involved with projects that are difficult for humanity? That's not happiness, Mary. Right? So I find it difficult. And I have some friends as well. I'm always very jealous of them. Everything looks perfect and they're happy. And I'm thinking, how the fuck did that happen? Right? Is this the picture you want? Is it? And of course they exist. But generally speaking, I don't believe in the jigsaw puzzle. I believe in the focus on the jigsaw puzzle of your life, because you need to go somewhere. And then along the way, you can figure out, wow, I'm finding other parts of the puzzle. Maybe it should be another puzzle, or maybe I should be busy with the puzzle at all and see where it brings me. Or
this puzzle should go with that puzzle. And I mean, I love that discussion. Like, what is happiness and what does it look like for every person, right? Everybody's different, I would guess. But I like that you challenged me. That was good. Right. And so, okay. No, I love it. I went to art school, and, critiques was part of art school, and sometimes you get bashed and sometimes you don't. And I think it provided a thick skin for me. So I really love it when people challenge my thoughts or like give me feedback that might not be all, I want that. So anyway, okay. So you're standing in the living room, you're looking out the window, and you said, it's all clear. What's clear? I don't know. Which is so great. You started thinking about the linear world. So what did you do about it? What you got clear, and then
what?
Yeah.
And then nothing. I was interviewing people. This was before the Octopus Movement, and I was interviewing multipotentialites all over the world. And why I was doing that, I wanted to create a documentary about the nonlinear thinkers, about the multipotentialites.
How did you find them?
LinkedIn. It's very easy. You do a search on LinkedIn, you type in multipotentialite, bam, here they are. And I was just browsing the profiles. Oh, that looks interesting. Oh, that's an interesting photo. And then you send an email, can I interview you? They all say yes. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Very simple. Yeah. So I was interviewing them. I didn't know what to do. Right. And I was I was homeless. I had so many things on my mind. I couldn't see the kids. My ex-wife was making my life impossible. Sorry, ex-wife, but it was. And this was my biggest fear, not to be able to see my kids. And my kids were doing okay. I figured out that if they're only with their mom, then they're okay. But it was my biggest fear. I wasn't afraid of losing everything. What is everything? Well, in my case, everything. My bank account, my house, my cars, my furniture, my clothing, everything. That's everything. But that doesn't matter. Not being able to see your kids, that's prison. And that's fucking scary. And then I discovered, that's weird. I'm in a huge problem. And people around me are creating more difficulty than it already is. How amazing. So,
can you give an example?
I was at ease at some points. This is where it's going. And apparently I need to do this. Things became clear. Okay, I'm getting somewhere. I was standing in line between the homeless people here in the Netherlands to talk to the government. Not happy with the government, to say the least. And I was thinking, and I was very emotional. I saw these people and they were maybe on alcohol and drugs and whatnot. And I was thinking, I know I'm going to be fine, but I don't think you're going to be fine anytime soon. And that really was difficult. I had no idea where I was going. I wanted to interview them. And I wanted to create a documentary. So I wanted to make as many interviews as possible so I could create that documentary before the Octopus Movement.
Yeah.
But then I discovered the link with multipotentiality and neurodiversity. After interviewing 70 people, I thought, that's funny. They all have neurodiversity. They all have something, right?
And for those who might not know what neurodiversity is, do you want to?
It's a label. If you have a label, ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, bipolar, go for it. That's neurodiversity.
Yeah.
It's an interesting word, diversity and neuro. I would say everybody has neurodiversity because we're all diversity. But apparently the geniuses in the world in a linear thinking process are saying this is normal. And when you're not normal and it's linked to your brain, you have neurodiversity. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So for me, neurodiversity doesn't exist. It's only a set of rules to explain why some people don't fit in the mold
into the
of
box.
Standard box.
Right. Switching lanes.
Yeah.
I think you ask a lot of great questions on the Facebook page for the Octopus Movement. And whenever you ask about ADD or any of the others, everyone's like, yep, me. And yeah. So
all of us, and also the people that I interviewed, maybe 90% yes, then 10% no. And then later on, a few months later, I would receive a message, Perry, oh my God, I went to see the family doctor and you were right. And I thought, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I didn't mention anything.
I'm not diagnosing anything.
I'm not doing anything. But then I got a message and thank you so much because it really changed my life. Because, there's something difficult with the label within neurodiversity. On one hand, it helps you to understand your own thinking, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And when people come to me and say, Perry, what I need to do, I want to do what you're doing. And I think it's so cool. How does it work? What is your advice? You have to understand your own thinking. That's my advice. Always understand how your brain is wired. Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't understand that, don't go into business. Don't go and start your own company because it's going to be a mess. Trust me.
Yeah.
So you need to understand your own structure of your brain. And a label within neurodiversity really helps. If you have the label of autism, it explains to you why in certain situations you're thinking, what the hell is wrong with me? Or why am I not seeing this?
Yeah.
Or why are people getting upset with me? I'm not doing anything wrong, right?
Yeah.
And these kind of labels really explain a lot. And it gives you insight. On the other hand, it also creates difficulty because you have dyslexia and you have ADHD and you have autism, and that the linear world, angry world out there are putting you in boxes and say, oh, you have dyslexia. So one day I was with my girlfriend, with the kids. We were planning to buy a vintage camper. We had that image of let's drive through Europe in a vintage camper.
Yeah.
An old timer. And, let's play to be an old hippie and let's go for it. Yay. Peace, man. So we were there. That was a beautiful camper van. And the owner was very nice. Oh, Perry, what do you do? Oh, Octopus Movement, Neurodiversity, la, la. And my daughter was there as well. And she has also severe dyslexia, like me. My dyslexia is really fucking annoying because, sorry for using the F word, but then fine. I want to write a word and it doesn't come out.
My gosh.
And I have to look it up and I use Google. And how do I spell this? How do I spell opportunity? I've used that word. What the hell is this? I did that already 10,000 times. Why isn't it working? No, it's horrible. And that's dyslexia. And then the owner of that van was talking about a book and he said to me, oh, but of course you have dyslexia, so you don't read.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, that's the linear world, people.
Yeah.
So because I have dyslexia, I don't read. I read 1 or 2 books a week. That's funny. I love reading. My daughter was upset when we were in the car and I said, what's wrong? And she said, well, he thinks you can't read because you have dyslexia. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter is in an international school and she was kicked out of the school because of her dyslexia.
Oh.
She wasn't good enough. She was first in an international school, private school. She was the best in her class, and they helped her to learn in whatever way possible. And then we got into a state-owned international school, and they said,
yeah,
she's not good enough.
These standards
it's not
this
good
way.
Enough.
Show your work.
Linear.
Yeah.
I went to court. I lost. It was horrible.
Yeah. But I love that you're fighting for it. You're fighting for it. You're not just
of course
laying down and saying, okay, I guess.
No, I'm not doing that anymore. And I can do that. I figured this out. I can do this because I'm not fighting the linear system anymore.
Yeah.
So because I understand my own nonlinear thinking, the linear thinking is not an issue anymore. So of course I'm fighting it by just explaining how it works in my perspective and not fighting in a way that I'm frustrated, angry, or whatever. Because when you're frustrated, you're a trauma coach. We always say in the family, if someone is angry, it's either trauma or hormones. That's it. One of the two, right? Yeah. So if you're fighting something because of your trauma, it's difficult to explain. So you need to fix your own trauma first in order to be able to explain it. And I think that's what happened with my nonlinear thinking. So I can now explain this to linear thinkers.
Yeah. And I imagine that it took time and interviewing people. And before you had the name Octopus Movement, how did you decide, or when did you decide, like, oh, I'm going to create something that supports people and brings information to the world? And where did that happen? How did that happen?
I couldn't get a job. I was living in Belgium. I had to move back to the Netherlands because of my ex-wife and the kids, to be with the kids. I applied for 70 jobs. My resume looks like shit because it goes all over the place. It's not very clear. If I would redo my resume now, it would look very linear. Again, I'm not finding it anymore. So I don't have to show how proud I am on myself on my resume. If I would send my resume now, it would be very linear, perfectly in line with all the expectations of a company. But back then, I had no idea. So I was sending my resume like crazy. I was homeless. I need a job. I need money now. I need to be there for the kids. I need to buy a house. I need to get something. Oh my God, fast.
Yeah.
No way. Nobody was even inviting me because my resume was so weird. So some people were giving me advice. I've learned something about advice back then. Sometimes in life, people, if someone is listening to us, can I say something?
Of course.
Sometimes people, we don't need advice. We just need help. Can you please put that in your mind and never forget that? Yeah. Sometimes we don't need advice. We just need help. Because we can think about everything ourselves. Trust me, I know I should have been going to McDonald's to flip burgers and to get some money in. I know. People were giving me that advice. You know, go and work for a hotel in the night shift. Go and flip burgers. I know. But I came in the Netherlands. I was new here. I'm Dutch, but I was away for 14 years. So renting a house would mean the cheapest house I could rent on the market would be 1,500 euros a month.
Wow.
Flipping burgers at McDonald's doesn't pay me 1,500 euros a month. Plus, I need to buy food and whatnot. So even if I would have done that, and then what, right? Yeah. And then what? I still couldn't be with the kids. Yeah. So I thought, no, I need to create a different life, and I'm going to do it differently. So I decided to just follow my passion and forget about the money. Yeah. Ooh, so good. I want to go back to the advice piece also. Yeah. Instead of giving advice, just be curious. Ask questions. You know, please.
I mean,
And sometimes reach out. And this is what we do in the Octopus Movement. People say, oh, you're creating a community. No, I'm not creating a community. I'm creating a movement. And within the movement, people find each other. And the network of people that are finding each other, for me, is the mycelium. It's a mycelial network where people are connected and they're helping each other.
Yeah.
Like in nature, because we're nature.
Mm-hmm.
When we're married like this, our brains are connected. That's how I feel. It's a biological connection, even we're using the internet and a camera and a fantastic Zoom company. It's still a biological connection. And that's what we're doing. So we're not only creating the awareness that atypical thinkers are amazing, but we're also creating that network where we are supporting each other. And this week on Monday, a member of the Octopus Movement had a heart attack and is in a coma right now. He's a very good friend of mine. And people all over the world in the Octopus Movement are heard, are connected, are involved with her and how she's doing.
Yeah.
And I find that beautiful. We're in a bubble where we can feel each other or not. Mm-hmm. I also create global mycelium meditation. It's once a week.
I didn't know that.
For a half an hour. And then I ask people, meditate with us.
Yeah.
And then I give a subject or not. Many times it's about peace, because you linear wankers are destroying everything. And if we meditate anyway, lots of us are meditating. Why not meditate at the same time and we think about the same topic when we meditate?
That's right. That's why
we did that on Monday for Dorothy when she went into the hospital. I immediately made a global mycelium meditation. Mm-hmm. Let's meditate for her. Let's send that energy towards her. Nice. If you believe in it or not, I don't care.
Yeah.
It's about the idea. And I find it so linear to think immediately, oh, I don't believe in that.
Right.
Oh, that's not true.
You're not being curious either. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I always say, but this is fascinating because in the movement, sometimes I'm not doing well and I get a message from someone, Perry, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
How is this possible? How cool is this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we're in this bubble and we're helping each other. And this is also coming from my period when I was homeless, that very linear advice was given to me. And I was thinking, can you give me something to eat? That really helps, right? I don't have any food. I'm still without income. I still live through donations. It's still very difficult from time to time, but it allows me to be free and to do everything I need to do in order to make this happen. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there's always an effect. I will always be saying, I can't do that or I have to do that. Mm-hmm. No, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. And I work with amazing partners and oh yeah, Perry, let's work together. I'm saying, I cannot hire you. You have to give me a grant. Otherwise it's not happening. And I got a grant from Google. I got a grant from Disco. I got a grant from the Pick My Brain. I got a grant from so many cool companies who are saying, I love this. We're supporting you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
And that's help that we need.
Yeah.
I don't need advice.
We're going to take a short break now to hear from our sponsor, Take Passage Coaching. This is still Mary, and I happen to be the owner and lead coach of Take Passage Coaching, and I'm thrilled I asked myself to be my own sponsor. Seriously though, Take Passage Coaching is a trauma-informed transformational coaching practice that supports people who are ready to move from uncertainty and doubt to the ability to clarify what they expect from themselves. At Take Passage Coaching, I work with clients to help them look at their negative thoughts not as the messy parts of themselves to stuff away, but how to use those thoughts as fuel. I know you've probably heard all of the promises before, and you may have been working on your stuff for ages with not much progress. But one reason why Take Passage Coaching is different is that I celebrate all of your messy parts, the parts you're embarrassed about, the things you may consider weaknesses, and I help you to see them that they are all gifts and they are all strengths. So whether you're someone who has experienced trauma, and if you're human, you have, or are ready to do the scary things in life that you've been telling yourself you can't, Take Passage Coaching is ready to help you with the transition and change that you want. So go ahead and reach out to takepassagecoaching.com to book a free exploratory session and take good care. So you created the Octopus Movement, and I have so many questions about octopi people. Do you think people who are neurodivergent who fit into the category of multipotentiality, who are octopus, do you think they tend to have more death and rebirth in their life? Personal death and rebirth?
I think so. It's a difficult one. It's very difficult. I asked this question, not specifically this question, but what I asked with the people that I've interviewed. In total, I did around 100. And I'm still interviewing people, but not as frequent anymore. It happens. Sometimes it's 3 interviews in a week, and then sometimes there are no interviews. What I find fascinating is the following experience I always have, and a lot of other people have that as well. I asked them, when you're going to do something you have never done before, how does it work? And many of them give me the same answer. Oh, Perry, that's funny you're asking, because I have this very strange experience. And I had that personally as well. I remember I was young and I wanted to fly. I went for my first flying lessons in an ultralight. Thought it was so cool. And I could feel myself flying in that plane.
Yeah.
Very vivid, very much alive. But I've never flown a plane. First time. I got into the plane. We went up. The instructor was there. He said, take over the, whatever you call that. Not the steering wheel, but anyway,
joystick or
the stick, whatever. The control of the plane.
There we
you
go.
have the control over the plane. I was like, wee, this is so cool. And I could feel how it was working. And he said, are you sure you never had any lessons?
Yeah.
I said, no, this is the first time. And I had that with a lot of things in my life, also emotional things, also the first experience of really kissing someone, really being in love, first time sex, first time. I had these experiences already before.
Yeah.
And it felt very familiar. And a lot of people in the Octopus movement have that same experience.
Like a deja vu kind of thing, or just they were perhaps able to visualize something. And then when they do it, it's like, oh, right, I've done this before.
They recognize the feeling.
Yeah.
Even though it's for the very, very first time. So I don't know if that's an answer to your question, but for me, it feels like that's very close.
Even if it's not answering my question, it was a great answer. Yeah, I think what I'm really curious about is, do people who have these abilities, do they take more chances? And when they take more chances, they let go of something from the past, or maybe they do something, it's not fitting for them and they hit rock bottom, but then they recreate themselves. Like, I feel that happens more for some people than other people. And I don't know if it's connected to being an octopus or not.
Yes, I think it is. I think the curiosity is coming from living a life that is more fearless than others. So if you're an octopus, if you're able to combine lots of things together, if you're able to learn fast, if you're able to be a nonlinear thinker and you don't always have to follow that jigsaw puzzle in life, that it needs to be exactly like that picture, you take more risk, you become more fearless. And fearless people are more curious, and curious people are more fearless. And why? Because they know they can figure it out anyway. When I lost everything, it wasn't funny, and I cried and I was upset, but I also thought immediately, I will figure it out, because I always do. And we love to solve problems. That's something we all have in common as well. Is there a problem? Bring it on, because we love that. We're addicted to solving problems. So if you're addicted to solving problems and you love that challenge in finding new solutions, then it's more easy to take some risk in life. And then life becomes more interesting.
Yeah. And I wonder if those people who recognize that they think differently than how we're taught to think, that they have enough, I don't like to use the word failure, but they have enough experience. They've tried enough different things, enough things that they have they have a bigger worldview and know that everything's going to be okay, because they're able to reinvent themselves or whatever.
And because they do, I want to say something so meaningful for me.
Love it.
Because they do, they're beautiful people. There is no racism within the Octopus movement. And we have all cultures, all nationalities, everything is there. There is no issue about background, religion, politics, gender, Gender. I don't understand the whole gender debate. Really, I don't.
Why people have issues if somebody's trans or identifies.
What the hell are we doing? And for me, the solution always is, oh, how linear. I can put everything off the table by just saying, oh, how linear. How linear. It's, oh, but you're a female. And that's how linear. I think the whole debate regarding to women. So in Belgium, my girlfriend was paid 10% less.
Oh, God.
Because he's a female. And I said, what the hell is this?
Right.
This is ridiculous. How linear, right? But of course it works that way because the male white dominance in the world, in all the organizations, they tend to be very linear. They created that linear thinking. Yeah. It's typically of male like me, white, 40, 50 years old. They're so freaking linear.
But don't you think? Yeah. I totally agree with you. And I'm going to push back this time. Don't you think saying, oh, that's so linear is also a judgment call? It's like saying, oh, that's.
Oh, hell yes.
So
and it's time to,
it's
time to judge in that perspective because we have been judged so many times because we're different. I've been judged so many times because I do things in a different way. I've been judged because I went to China with my family and my friends couldn't understand why we went away to China. I've been judged because I wear nail polish and I'm not gay and I'm not into heavy metal. I'm so...
Yeah.
Do I need to continue? So fuck yes. How linear. Well, it's time to hit back. Yeah. Leave me alone. Don't judge me because I am who I am. Don't judge me on my writing. Oh, you made a spelling mistake. Now we're not going to invite you to a job interview. Right. Because even if you can't write your resume without mistakes, we don't want you. Fuck you. That's ridiculous.
So then how does the Octopus Movement? Okay. So you want to bring awareness. You want to, somewhere on your website, it said something along the lines of, I want to bring this information and this awareness and support of neurodivergent thinkers to corporations that think linear. Am I right? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's and I know that you can handle these questions. If there's a fuck you all for pigeonholing me for so many years, are they going to be receptive to hearing about it? Like, just curious.
Well, yes. Yeah. And I can see that. How do you get
people to listen? I think is my question. How do you get people in corporations to listen that this is an important thing to consider about people, how people learn differently?
COVID.
Oh, say more.
COVID helped me tremendously because COVID came and the linear world was very much upset. Everything changed. I have to work at home. I can't. I need to work in the office. I can't work at home. The kids are there. How can I concentrate? Holy hell.
Right?
It doesn't work. Or I'm an entrepreneur and now there's no income anymore. And
it's the opposite for me.
What do? Government help me. Everybody was shouting, government help me. You have to help me. Have to, huh? Have to. You have to.
I deserve it.
I deserve. Why? Yeah. What? COVID really helped. And I think big companies got aware of the fact that if something happens and the linear structure falls away, there's a huge group of people that have difficulties in adjusting. And then they saw in their own companies that during COVID, there were some people who were doing the opposite, who were thriving, who were creating, who were coming with creative new ideas in how to do it. These people were nonlinear thinkers.
So you think COVID kind of expanded the thinking of the more nonlinear, let's say, CEOs.
And it's difficult, right? Because if you've studied in a linear way and you went all up to university and then you went to Harvard, ooh, big dude with your Harvard diploma, and that's really a celebration in linear thinking. And then all of a sudden COVID in 2 years' time will remove everything. No, of course not. But it created a little bit of awareness. And then you have the startups, and the startups were just, continuing, and they were using that, and they were also growing. So what is different within startups than traditional companies? I don't have to explain.
Yeah.
People are already thinking it. Oh, there he is again with his linear thinking. But it's true.
It's the ability to pivot and the ability to,
right?
What was the word? Adaptability. Yeah.
Adaptability.
Yeah.
That's the word. And recently I gave a lecture about nonlinear thinking at a huge bank in the Netherlands, state-owned, the biggest bank.
So great.
Perry, tell us about nonlinear thinking. Well, I did. And then afterwards, we spoke together about people with autism in the financial sector. They love people with autism. They're good with numbers. You're so focused. They're dedicated in going for it, generally speaking. Stereotyping, right? But what is the issue? So the issue is not that the bank doesn't want to hire people with autism. The problem is not that the bank doesn't want to adjust how they work. It's not the problem. You know where the problem lies? It's the problem with the other employees working at the bank.
Right. They don't know how to be with somebody or work with somebody or, yeah.
And then this is the best example I can give you. I interviewed someone with severe autism and I asked him and I said, what do you want? If you could change something in the world, what would it be? And he said, the unwritten rules, Perry. Oh. The unwritten rules are driving me nuts. I don't know them because they're unwritten. I can't look them up. There is no manual of the unwritten rules. Apparently, you all understand the unwritten rules. I don't.
Yeah.
And it's driving me nuts because they're expecting me to understand all the unwritten rules. I thought it was so beautiful.
That's amazing. I say a lot in my interviews, oh my God, I just got the chills, but I did again.
The unwritten rules. I think it's so beautiful. And he is in my book. I'm creating an art book with 398 nonlinear thinkers. He is in my book. He's talking about the unwritten rules. So beautiful.
Oh.
And since then, I asked him, I said, can I use the example of the unwritten rule? Because it's so beautiful. He said, go for it. So this is the advice I'm giving to organizations. That's why I was quoted in Forbes as well. It's the unwritten rules, people.
Yeah.
What do we do if we want to hire neurodivergent people because they're so creative, they're so innovative, it's so cool?
Yeah.
Well, think about your unwritten rules and think about how impossible you are creating it sometimes because of all these.
Yeah.
So difficult. And if you let them go, which what we call nonlinear thinking, right? Then it becomes clear. Then the sun is shining. Then we become fearless. Then we're not discriminating. Then we're helping each other. We're seeing the big picture, and we're able to take the next step.
Yeah, I love that. I love one that a bank was wanting you to come speak to them. I think that's great. Sounds like they listened. Maybe some more than others. Wasn't there. I'm not really sure. But the fact that this unwritten rule and that somebody who's a neurodivergent thinker would say that, and then you can use it. So it's like this ripple effect. And so that's why I call this podcast Our Defining Moments. So we don't have defining moments in a vacuum, right? Our defining moments affect us. They affect the people around us. They may affect our community. It may affect the world. I think you're on the way to affecting the world. Your defining moment is on the way to changing the world. So my neurodivergence helps me most, like you were saying before, when I want to come up with something new, when I need to like creative thinking. I have this idea and I get the idea and I kind of work backwards or I work in circles. It also helps with like in future endeavors, like what's next? What's next? What's the next exciting thing? Collaborations, all that. The sky is never the limit because there are no limits. Right? So I always want to know what's next. So what's next for the Octopus Movement? How's that ripple going to keep going out?
This is only a first tiny step. This 1.5 years, just Perry behind his laptop, right? So what is happening now is we're hiring our first COO, or not our first, but our COO. We're growing.
That's amazing.
We are doing so many things. The first thing that just started is our Octopus University. Cool training for nonlinear thinkers to strive in this linear world. The next phase is to do it the other way around. You have linear thinkers who are saying, I want to be a little bit more nonlinear. We can explain, right? Oh God, there's so many things happen. What is the future? I want 1 billion nonlinear thinkers together and define a nonlinear thinker. It's a human. Yeah. We're all nonlinear thinkers. So I want 1 billion humans together in one big mycelial network, and let's create a difference. The solution isn't on Mars. It's very cool that we're planning to go to Mars and do the impossible and make it possible and being very innovative. I love it. But we need to solve the issue here on this planet. And I think we're destroying the planet. We are putting all kinds of toxin in our food. We're destroying the dirt, the soil on the planet. We're not being very kind to other people. But what if we stand up together and we make a difference? I was inspired by Jeff Bezos. Why? Well, he was going in his flying dick into orbit with his brother. That was a really ugly rocket. You know, if you're building a new rocket, then at least create something aesthetic, something nice. That was really ugly. I saw it the first time. I was like, no, or it's a joke. That would, if it was a good sense of humor, then I'm fine with it. Right. I don't think so. And then people were complaining and they were saying, he should have spent his 100 million to help humanity rather than to be 10 minutes in orbit with his brother, both wearing a cowboy hat. And I was thinking, how linear? If that's what he wants to do, then let him fly, right? It's not his responsibility. It's our responsibility. We don't need 100 million to make a change. We need unique brains.
Yeah. Ooh.
And that's where we're going. It's everybody is saying data is the big currency in the world. It's the new oil in the world is data. I would like to say knowledge and unique minds is the next step. Because with artificial intelligence coming, it's all been taken care of. The linear specialist is going to be very boring and can be taken over by artificial intelligence. The multiple nonlinear specialist, the one who uses all his experience in his life from all different angles into one way of working or one specialty, those are the new specialists that we need. And you can already see that happening right now. People with neurodiversity tend to be a little bit in that nonlinear specialist, and they're being well paid now, especially in the US. That's changing. So where are we going? We're going to 1 billion nonlinear thinkers. We're going to the nonlinear specialists. And these guys...
Which is kind of an oxymoron. Nonlinear specialist, right?
It's funny, huh? But it's true.
Yeah.
I'm working now together with a huge investment company in California. We made a partnership. Why? Because of the nonlinear specialists we have.
Nice.
They have 900 million in cash. They have the board of awesome rock and roll superstars.
Yeah.
They have the startups. Yeah. They have the board. They have the machine. They have the marketeers. They have everything. But what they need is a group of people that can help them to solve issues that are difficult.
Yeah.
That can help them to go beyond what is expected. Those are the nonlinear thinkers who can do that.
Yeah.
So we're creating systems in the movement for people to get the opportunity to be hired by investment companies as a nonlinear specialist. This is what I wanted to do, because when I talked to so many people all over the world, they were all saying, if people would understand me better, I would have more opportunities. Well, I'm creating this possibility where people are being understood in a better way and create the connections where linear, nonlinear companies are working together with these superstars.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's what I want to do.
I love that. That's big. I think it's big. That's a lot. It's a lot to work towards. And it's so great that you go big, like, oh, it's not, I want 2,500 followers on Facebook. So, I want to educate the world. I want 1 billion people working on this together. And
can you imagine, Mary, when we have 1 billion people in the Octopus Movement and we go to the World Economic Forum and we say, listen, guys, we're not doing this. You're damaging the planet. This is not helping. Yeah. Greta, here we come. We're going to help you, right? Greta, you're doing an amazing job. You have so many followers.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
You need 1 million neurodivergent thinkers backing you up, sister.
Yes. Because then we can create a change.
Yeah.
Which we need.
I agree.
What are the rules? Some people are asking, what are the rules to be in the Octopus Movement? There aren't any rules. There are no rules.
So it's meaning like, you could have an interest. Maybe you're not neurodivergent, but you're really interested in it, and they want to support you. You can still be a part of the Octopus Movement. That's great.
Yes.
I want to wrap up with something. Reading a quote that's on your website, which is the octopusmovement.org, and it's a quote by Steve Jobs, and it says, "They, capital T, they change things. They push the human race forward, and while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do it." And I feel like you are one hell of a crazy guy.
Yeah, I'm totally crazy, right?
Yes, right. And you have this, I think it's the willingness to take chances. It's your ability to think outside the box. It's so many things. And so I'm so thankful that you are one of the crazy ones.
It's good to be crazy. Yeah. And I recently, I said it to someone. I went back to my high school photos from school.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, I want to see how everybody's doing. And then you can search on social media. Everybody does that, right? And how is he doing it?
Yeah.
And then I was looking at the cool kids. And then I was looking them up. I wasn't the cool kid, of course. I was the weirdo. And then I looked up the weirdos. And the cool kids are not the cool kids. When we think they are the cool kids, trust me, they're not the cool kids.
That's a short label.
The weirdos are the cool ones. Yeah. Because the weirdos now, what I found from my high school period of time, the weirdos are now doing awesome things.
Yes.
They're traveling the world. They're doing awesome, whatever you could define as awesome. Yeah. And then the cool kids are living a linear life with their jigsaw puzzle. Maybe very happy, Mary, I don't know. But they're not the cool kids anymore.
Yeah. The weirdos. What if there's a quote? The weirdos will, I'm going to look it up and I'll send it to you if I can find it. But it was a quote from like a 1980s movie in the States, but like the weirdos will set you free or something like that. So thankful that you're a weirdo, and there are lots of weirdos out there who want to join together and make change in this world.
Be weird, be weird, be different. It's so cool. And it's so nice to find your tribe where you can be weird because everybody understands each other. And for me, it feels like you linear thinkers made a huge mess in the world, and we nonlinear thinkers will clean it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an honor and a pleasure, and I love seeing the growth, and I cannot wait to see the 1 billion and the world education platform happening.
I'm not there yet. I have around 2,000.
Well, I have
we're
all
getting
faith
there.
In the world that you will be there.
Me too. Yeah. I'm crazy enough to think that I will get there soon, even. Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time, and thanks for being weird.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having me.
This has been Our Defining Moments with Mary McClements. I'm back next week with more stories of moments in time that changed someone's life forever. Please rate and review the show and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you have a defining moment and want to share, head over to the Our Defining Moment website at ourdefiningmoments.com and click on Share a Moment. I'm always interested in people's stories, and I may feature you on the podcast.